it's always a good one for me to join this community. I see Jenny over here. So interesting and so amazed to have her join us. As a way of introducing myself, I'm Harry Akligo. I'm based in Ghana at the moment in Accra. I moved out of Kumasi to Accra now. So for those of you who knew me to be based in Kumasi, I'm in Accra right now. I have been working with Dr. Jenny Molloy for the past 3 years. I think that was the beginning of most of my journeys to synthetic biology, and then the whole stuff about community biotechnology, DIY biohacking, and all of that. And for me, it's been a great learning opportunity for me, where we had the opportunity to start, so to say, the first of its kind community biolab in Ghana called the Hive Biolab, which is one of the nodes of the Open Bioeconomy Lab, to see how we can overcome some challenges that local researchers faced. Starting off using the Open Enzyme project, we went ahead to see how we can also create capacity for other young people, especially students and researchers, building up from the Open Enzyme project. And I think my experiences then had actually moved beyond working in the lab, are also building other competencies that are relevant to solving problems, also honing my leadership skills and translating that to other amazing projects that I got involved with over the course of the period. And quite recently, I was involved in helping start and implement the Symbio Africa conference that happened in Kampala, Uganda. I think it's something worth mentioning, because for me, having seen that very young people that drew their inspiration from, also attending like conferences like this and putting them together, and then being able to go to that scale to organize first of its kind conference is something I think we need to congratulate ourselves for. Just highlighting some few initiatives on the continent that are trying to make good use of some of the values we are learning, also from the BioFellows program. Myself, Geoffrey Otim, who is the lead for the Symbio Africa event or organization, put together myself and others that we're able to do this. So I think it's just a testament of some of the leadership values, and also building ourselves that we get to gain from this, being a part of this community. And for me, I think the future is really bright for us as we try to leverage some of the things that we see happening in the extended global community to really get impact into our communities. I think I want to end here, and then we continue with the discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harry. It's such a pleasure to have a same table with you, because you inspired me in this journey of BioSummit and the fellowship. And I remember when I met you at the first Synthetic Biology African Conference, the discussion was really great, and we see that there is a very good future for synthetic biology and biotech and the whole industry in the region. When we start from the east and you guys are in the west, then we have people in the north. Last week I was in Egypt, in Cairo, attending the IGEM meetup, and I saw a great inspiration of young and talented folks coming up and starting up teams, and teams are becoming big projects so that I can even end up in startups and companies, and I'm really happy and glad for that.
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm Jenny Molloy. As Harry mentioned, I worked with Harry on helping to set up the Hive Biolab, and also have worked with Mboa Lab in Cameroon as well. So Stefan Fidanka, Nadine Moore, who have been involved in BioSummit before, and others, and Manette Shalo, for example, who was also a fellow. So yeah, I've been mostly involved in those two spaces, and always interested to learn more from you. My interest in broader spaces is that I have a nonprofit called Beneficial Bio, and we're attempting to replicate the Mboa Lab production model for enzymes in other areas. We have a meeting next Friday talking to people in Ethiopia, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana. I'm missing a couple of places about how to replicate that. So that's not, I wouldn't classify it necessarily as setting up community labs, but certainly setting up kind of local production hubs that could provide tools and resources to both community labs and academic institutions and research centres. So yeah, that's my interest, and just here to listen and learn from all of you and the amazing work you're doing.
Thank you so much, Jenny. You know, it's really great when you see people trying to tackle local challenges, because I remember Randy saying that IGM has changed. Now it's about local people tackling local problems and coming together to achieve the best from their regional perspective. Thank you so much, Jenny, and we are happy and glad to have you here. Over to you. Ogunjobi, can you be able to speak now?
I was told that it could be my microphone. I don't know. The laptop actually crashed the weekend, so I just repaired it. So I don't know what exactly is going on. So now this information is hidden. Anyways, let me get to my phone and then join.
Oh, okay. It's okay. We can get back to you. Maybe
can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you.
It's better when you're getting close to the microphone on your computer. I think we can hear you a little better when you get close.
Yes.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Oluwadamilola. David is giving me thumbs up, so that's great. So I'm the founder of Think Tank and Focus, and before that I had participated in a fellowship at the James Martin Institute in Monaco. What we do is non-proliferation studies. And then I started researching biosecurity a lot. And then I actually fell in love with it. And then I decided to come back home to Nigeria to do research. It's been very interesting to find out that a lot of infrastructure is actually dilapidated. And because of this reason, the science that is supposed to be good is actually dual use. There's a lot of work going on, and I hope to share that with you in the future, but I'm happy to be. Before that, I worked in government, so that's
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We were able to hear you and pick something. Over to you, Anesh. Can you be able to hear me? You can introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Anish Batra. I'm a high school student based in Massachusetts. I'm a senior, going to college next year, hopefully. Yeah, I've been working at the Community Biotechnology Initiative with David for about a year and a half almost now. We've only met in person one time, but that's how the pandemic's been working. Yeah, I've been working on various projects, Zapor, Metafluidics. Zapor is it's an electroporation device, but of course, this guy named Teja, since they're obviously geniuses at the Media Lab, he used the voltage of a fly swatter to create this electroporation device. And just for clarification, an electroporation device is a device that you can basically use voltage to shock cells and then increase the spacing between them, so you can insert genetic material in there and sort of modify the cells. And Metafluidics is an open source website containing hardware and software for metafluidic devices to make it more available for everyone to use. And that's kind of the purpose of the Community Biotechnology Initiative, to make hard to access technologies more easy to access for people around the world and everywhere. Yeah, that's what I've been doing for about a year and a half. And yeah, and I sort of got involved with BioSummit through that as well.
Wow, that's really amazing. You've reminded me that when I was in high school, I didn't know much about the international, movements like this and congregations like this and events like this. But now that's why Sesta came in, because I want to be able to reach out to the schools and high schools to talk to them about these initiatives so that they can build up from the level that you're at right now, because this is good, because when you start early, it becomes very easy for you to catch up with everything, and you'll be able to achieve better than someone who just gets to know about something in their late university years, and you cannot be able to achieve what you would be able to achieve as a student. Over to you, Ibrahim. Can you be able to hear me? Oh, good.
Everyone, hi, my name, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, hi everyone, my name is Ibrahim Dalajan. I am with Biotech Without Borders here in New York City. The reason I came to Africa meeting because my original from Middle East, and also I would like to help with the project and community lab in North Africa. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I think I think it's now yeah, now ahead, especially Middle East, we try to learn from actually what happened, especially from Symbio Africa. So we try to learn from you guys' experience to expand to other region in the world, especially if they're not there, in terms of iGEM and in terms of community lab and other stuff. And thank you all.
You're welcome, and thank you so much, Ibrahim. One, I have to comment about Biotech Without Borders. I used to know Dr. Ellen Jorgensen. She was my close friend when she was still the president, the vice president. And when I was in Boston in 2018, she's the one who actually oriented me, took me around, and she would pick me at my place and take me to the Haynes Convention Center, and then take me back. She took me to MIT, and I was really, it was really a great time with her in Boston, and she's really a super lady. And then on Symbio in the Middle East, when last week, as I told you, when I was in Egypt, I were involved in the movement and launching the movement of Symbio Arabia. I can put in contact with folks who are heading Symbio Arabia, and they can be able to help you, can work together. But also you're welcome to work with Symbio Africa, and we can learn from each other, because it's all a journey for us, and it's the beginning for now. But we can learn from each other, and we can be able to push ahead. Thank you so much. Then we go to Amanda. Amanda, as you've just joined in, we are just introducing ourselves and talking about what we are involved in for now. So if you're ready, you can be able to introduce yourself. And then as we get to Ogunjobi, Ogunjobi finished, sorry, as we finish up, and then we go to the next step. Over to you, Amanda. Amanda, can you hear me? Let me type in the chat. Amanda, can you be able to hear us? Okay, well, I think we can go ahead. Oh, a moment. Okay, no problem. No problem, Amanda, take your time. So as Amanda is going to connect her mic, the next point of discussion is to know the regional initiatives that we are involved in, and the goals that we all share in these regional initiatives, and we see how they're impacting, and where we need strength and collaboration. So Amanda, when you're ready, please. Oh, Amanda, when you're ready, please, you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we will go lastly to David, and then we go ahead. Okay, maybe Amanda, before Amanda comes in. David,
Go quickly, yeah.
You can go ahead.
Well, just thank you so much, Alex, for your leadership in all of the work that you've been doing. Again, it's actually this is I think one of our first times really interacting. So I'm really excited to meet you, Alex, and spend time with you in this session. And you know, again, I think for me, you know, for seeing Alex and Harry and Amanda and Olu, all of you have been doing such incredible work as a part of the Fellows Program. So I know it's been a really, really big honor to have all of you participate, and really hopeful that the fellowship has been able to provide some useful skills and network and connections and so on for you all on your journeys. I just want to say briefly, you know, when BioSummit was first started in 2017, the very first application that we received at the very first BioSummit, you know, I was sitting in this conference room at MIT with Mary Magic, and we put the thing out there in the world, and we're like, is anybody even going to apply to show up to this? We had no idea what was going to happen. And we got this one application. The very first application came in right away, and we're like, who is it? And it was this guy, Harry Akugo. I was like, who is this Harry guy? He's the very first applicant ever. Like literally the very first application to the very first BioSummit was Harry. So so I just want to say too, you know, Harry, it's been such an incredible journey over the past 5 years. I'm seeing you evolve and just, you know, become the incredible leader that you have been this entire time, but just again, seeing your journey has been really inspiring. And you know, I think for me, you know, after that very first BioSummit, I remember Tomas and Boa, who was there, and Connie, who was also there. I remember they got together and they said, hey, you know, we would love to do something like this in Africa. And there was already, I think, some energy around this idea, but I think Thomas and Connie were two of the big forces that helped to make the first Africa OSH happen. And so that, again, you know, for me was a life-changing moment. I went to Ghana, and I had the huge honor to participate in that particular event. And I'll never forget, you know, Thomas Mbowe, he said, you know, what was his exact line? He said, I want to make sure I get it right, but it's something along the lines of, you know, when you come to Africa, you know, you may not be born in Africa, but Africa can be born in you. And I felt that, you know, when I was there in Ghana, it really was just a totally life-changing event to be able to meet Harry in person and meet all the incredible community members there, and go to Kumasi and see all of the work that was happening there. Totally life-changing. And so in any way that that I can help and be supportive of all of the efforts that you guys are working on, I'm so inspired by them. And again, you know, all of the work that Jenny and all of the folks on the ground have been working on in Kumasi, in Cameroon. I'm really just so inspired by everything that you guys are doing, and really happy to support and help and strategize and build with you all however I can. So Alex, thank you for your leadership and for your great moderation as well. So thank you so much.
You're welcome, David. It's really a pleasure. One is that I have to really say thank you to the whole organizing group of the BioSummit, me inclusive, but then also to also to the fellowship, because the fellowship really opened up a lot to get to know about the BioSummit community. Catching up with folks from all over the world, and especially in our coaching sessions, it was really amazing. And it was inspiring too, because when you get one-on-one with someone, you get to understand them better, and from there we can always collaborate easily. So Amanda, are you ready now? Okay, I guess Amanda is still having issues with her mic. So thank you so much, David. So let's get over to the next step, where we would want Harry to come in and tell us about the initiatives that they're doing in West Africa, especially with the the BioHive, and also Jenny to continue from there, from Harry's speech. Thank you so much. Over to you, Harry.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So for me, I think I would draw inspirations back from what David had mentioned about the Africa Open Science Hardware Summit. I would say that was one of my foremost platforms. I started engaging with first off as a participant, and subsequently after opportunities from the Open Bioeconomy Lab through Jenny and many others. I started doing many other amazing things thereof. I would say for me that was the beginning. And the Africa Open Science Hardware Summit and community, the Africa OSH, has since gone on to democratize the open principles, not only that, but also trying as much as possible to make known the whole stuff about DIY biology, how we can engage with new technologies on the continent. And I think we have done that for 2 to 3 consecutive times. I would also say we've had opportunity to organize those in Ghana being the first, subsequently went to Tanzania, very beautiful one hosted by Stick Lab, now called Bongo Tech Lab. And then we were supposed to move to Cameroon. Unfortunately, around the same time, we had COVID set in, but that didn't stop us from doing and engaging with Africa OSH communities. We had been able to still engage the communities virtually and all of that. These are some highlights of things that have been happening. One thing I want to be quick to mention is that the Africa Open Science Hardware Summit, though it started in West Africa, it wasn't meant to be for West Africans. It was a whole Africa-wide initiative. To tie in all other African countries. So if you see the trajectory of how we were moving, we moved to East Africa, we are moving to Central Africa, and that has been the journey because we wanted to, the main community organizers, and the vision was that we wanted to tie in the rest of Africa to the very importance of how we can leverage the whole open source movement to solving the problems that we face as Africans. I think the other next initiative I was involved with, and that's which you were also involved in, Alex, is the Symbio Africa conference, which in itself is not a West African thing, but I think it is giving us the momentum to also start regionalizing this in West Africa. I think that is one of the conversations people from Ghana that had opportunity to participate in the Symbio Africa conference started having. These were conversations I started having with them for us to see how we can grow this community very much strong here in Ghana and tying it to the rest of the African West African sub-region, because that way we see it is easier to have more West Africans moving within the West African countries than moving outside of the sub-region. And I think that's one of the conversations we are having currently. We can see that even on this call, we have very few Africans here, which I believe is a testament that we have a lot of work to do. And that's for me, I think is some of the things that we need to gear up to. And just to wrap up, I want to say that though we haven't had a strong community biotechnology initiative happening, we are still building up momentum. And I think the first of its kind is the Symbio Africa conference, which we are using as a platform to tie into the rest of the continent to start doing really amazing community engagement works that will make people even understand some of these technologies before we move ahead. The last thing I want to mention is with our work with the Open Bioeconomy Lab, where we've been able to successfully set up the Hive Biolab. That may not be a movement. It's for us, we believe it's a platform to help solve problems, and we believe this is just one of several initiatives or projects that we are going to see happen or out of the continent, and the several things we are working on currently. So for me, I think I want to end here, and this is just part of my story with regards to what has been happening so far. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Harry. And before you leave, there is a question about if we will have the open hardware this 2020 the open science hardware 2022 from David, and then he also asked about the relationship between Symbio Africa and the Africa OSH.
I think obviously it is obvious that we will certainly be having an Africa OSH 2022 in person. Because we were unable to have it happen in person in 2021, though Thomas Umbwa, my very good friend, wanted to make this happen, but for some reason it didn't happen. So I'm very much sure with his leadership and that of others in the steering committee, we want to make that happen this year regardless, especially knowing that there are a lot of flexing points for us, the COVID. I mean, people are navigating their ways around that. So I would say that yes, it would happen. Talking about relationship between Africa OSH and Symbio Africa, I use myself as the relationship point because I found myself sandwiched between the two groups. Yeah, so we have conversations, and I think for me, there is certainly a relationship between the two of us. It may not be formal, but I think that the beginning is now using myself as that relationship point to get into the two groups. So that was what I would say to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe to enlighten about Symbio Africa. So Symbio Africa started as an initiative after our participation in IGEM in 2018. And we realized that we were working out of scratch. I was a veterinarian, and my team had biomedical biotechnologists and biotechnologists, but we had not yet had much information about synthetic biology before. And it was our first time, and our project was the first to be done in the synthetic biology world in East Africa. And then when we came back from the IGEM Jamboree, we realized that we need to start up an initiative where we can bring every people that have participated in IGEM and people that have in the Symbio movement to make them to give them a home, you know, and on top of that, to be able to learn, to teach the community about synthetic biology, also to incorporate synthetic biology into our curriculum, because I realized that most of the universities in Africa, if not all, do not have synthetic biology either at undergrad or even at postgrad, which is a big challenge because we have to get knowledge on synthetic biology from outside. So all these challenges came to the rise of Symbio Africa, and it became an association last year, registered. But then now we are coming up. We've been struggling to come out, to bring our head out, but now finally our head is out, and we'll be able to have more movement, collaborating with even the Africa OSH in West Africa, and combining efforts together. Now we're even bringing in Jogol Africa. So all these initiatives, including Symbio Arabia, we are all trying to reach at the same goal of promoting synthetic biology, biotechnology, do-it-yourself biology, open science accessibility, so that everyone has at least has accessibility to all these materials. I believe that can be able to help you out to understand synthetic biology and Symbio Africa, maybe the relationship between the two. Over to you, Jenny. Maybe you can say something about the initiatives and maybe those that are ongoing and those that you've participated in the past, and then the future of how you see it going in Africa.
Sure. Well, I'll leave. Harry has explained stuff that's going on at the Hive Biolab, and we haven't got anyone from the Boa Lab, unfortunately, here. So I'll maybe fill in that. So we set up a lab at Moboa Lab to start producing enzymes and other reagents. So they are now doing that and selling them to local researchers. And they do run kind of community-based activities, but there's sort of a disconnect between the stuff that we do in the lab and the community activities. Often the community activities are more around kind of food production or open science hardware in terms of teaching kids around microscopes. There's a big difference between the structure of Moboa Lab and what a sort of typical maybe US community lab might look like. And sort of one stepping stone towards making that more open to people that are not core members of the team who work in the lab is to have an extra part of the lab, because at the moment the infrastructure is used for producing the reagents and it's used for research, and it's very difficult to make that open access to more people and still function. And so one thing that we're excited about for next year is we have a small amount of funding to set up part of the lab as a space that can be used by other people, primarily in the first instance students and researchers from nearby institutions, where they can come in and use it as a research/innovation space. And we have some funding to have a full-time person who's going to run training. And so it's actually built around a project we were doing on a CRISPR-based typhoid diagnostic. So we're calling it the CRISPR DX Academy, but it'll basically be a space where people can come and be taught. So that's, I think, the thing I'm excited about, because we've had to be necessarily internally focused for quite a while to just get stuff up and running, get people in place, get equipment in place. And now that is rolling, we can kind of, at Moboa Lab now, excited about kind of looking a little bit out and making those facilities more available to researchers. And then, as I mentioned, really it's trying to replicate the model. So I currently have a grant application. It was very annoying. We got awarded a grant, but then for administrative reasons, we don't have the grant. But hopefully at some point we'll have a bio-innovation hub in Kenya and Ethiopia, which will be performing a similar role. So we'll kit out the labs, have them available for kind of innovation work by local researchers, but there'll also be a technician there who's manufacturing reagents to try and bring down the cost for everybody. So yeah, we're really, like, the next 12 months is really trying to see if we can replicate the model around different countries in Africa. So if anyone's got leads on people who would be really effective, it's a particular type of kind of person that we need, because it's not education, it's production. Like a very kind of different, it takes a particular type of person who's interested in doing that compared to a more educational approach. They're both equally valid, but yeah, so that's what I'm excited about in the next 12 months.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, you're bringing it to be cheaper in terms of production at the ground level, and it's going to maybe inspire more who are taking up the same initiatives locally. Thank you so much, Jenny. I don't know if Amanda, you're able to speak now. Can you hear us, Amanda? Okay, maybe Deepak. Deepak, can you be able to hear us?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead and introduce yourself and what you're involved in, maybe the initiatives if you're from the African region. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. I am Deepak. I'm a center manager at the Synthetic Biology and Precision Medicine Center at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research in South Africa. We are establishing a synthetic biology program and a biofoundry program, and we're also using the synthetic biology tool to apply in precision medicine. So we target both, use the tool of synthetic biology to support different kinds of work related to agriculture and chemicals, and at the same time, we are also supporting work which would enable precision medicine platform could be initiated in South Africa and perhaps in Africa together. So in my presentation, I would be focusing on how we establish the precision medicine platform and how we use synthetic biology into implementing the platform in South Africa. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Deepak. We're glad that you're joining us from South Africa. Amanda, over to you. Can you be able to hear us finally? Oh, okay. So maybe Ogunjobi can tell us about the initiatives that that you're in, and if there is any, and then the goals of the initiatives and where you see them in the coming year. Yes.
I think I can share this one. I'm actually working on a digital registry. We discussed that during the fellowship. One of the times.
We can't hear you well.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better. Go ahead.
So I'm working on about digital registry, and what I found out is that there's a certification of, that was one of the reasons why I made that presentation yesterday, of biological data as labs. No, not all biological data are for labs. Some are for labs, majority will be for labs, but the data is infrastructure that could be dilapidated and used for the wrong reasons. So that's another part. But the bioregistry is just, because when I started, I was thinking of using the blockchain DTL to do so many things. And then I found out that all I needed was a phone and to create an infrastructure from ground up. And so I'm rewriting my proposal for the MIT Spark. They were the ones that gave me the opportunity to do the research. So I'm rewriting my proposal this week after this conference, and then we'll see from there. It's a lot of work because I found out I don't work in bioscience, and I didn't intend to. But I found out that bioscience is trying to take away my democracy. It's trying to take away the rule of law. Bioscience is trying to infringe on how I live my life. And so I had to find out what exactly is going on. And last year I attended the Bio Summit, and I was wow, because I found out that there's so many people doing so many things. And that was one of the things I discussed with you when you told me you were working in synthetic biology. My research on synthetic biology is dual use. Someone can use that technology to invent something that we would be reactive, and it would be worse than COVID-19. So for this reason, it's imperative for collaborations. So the governance is so important, it's so imperative. I'm so glad that David saw this as something, even though maybe this may not be his field of study, but he saw it as important, because if MIT can do this, the whole world would follow through.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a little of what I'm doing. Like I said, I did not expect to work in bioscience. I just wanted to do biosecurity and find out how to make sure that there are no bioterrorists in the world and etc. and write projects and that was it. But I found out that a lot of infrastructure, like the COVID, the Ebola in the Congo, it went on for longer because of the initial conflicts that have been happening in the region. And so while they're thinking about containment in that area, it's unfortunate that that cannot happen because of the conflict. So there's a lot of polarization of information, disinformation, etc. Yeah, so I think I have said enough. Thank you.
Wow, that's amazing. I think we were not able to reach Amanda. David, do you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. Well, number one, Olu, I'm so glad that the Bio Summit was helpful for you in rediscovering the biosciences. It's funny, I had a similar experience to you actually, where the very first kind of gathering around do-it-yourself biology was in 2012 that I went to. That was actually at the FBI in the United States had organized this global gathering. It was a really weird meeting. And I was there because I was also doing biosecurity at that time, actually. I was at a place called Lincoln Lab at MIT, which is very focused on biodefense. And so I was at that meeting and I was like, I don't want to do the biodefense stuff. I actually want to do what these guys are doing. And then that's how I actually got into a lot of this work myself almost 10 years ago now. So I relate very much with your story. One thing I did want to share, because again, I'm so impressed by the different work and the initiatives on both building these different centers and then the gatherings. Because right, I think part of what I'm hearing just in this conversation, which feels very positive. There's a lot of work on the social infrastructure. So the relationship building that you guys are doing through Africa OSH, through SynBio Africa, being able to build those relationships and those connections is really important. Then everything that through Jenny and all the collaborations with all the other labs on reagents, on means of production. So you've got the actual kind of infrastructure as it relates to the tools and the technologies. That also feels like a really important piece that feels like it's very actively being worked on. I did want to put a little plug. We've been working on this educational curriculum for synthetic biology for a number of years now, called How to Grow Almost Anything, which is a synthetic biology course that I've been co-teaching with Professor George Church from Harvard and a whole number of faculty from all around the world. We started teaching this in about 2015 as a global class, because the bit of the backstory here is that Professor Neil Gershenfeld at MIT had launched this thing called the Fab Academy, which is about digital fabrication, where they're setting up fab labs all around the world. Now there are thousands of these fab labs all around the world, and so at the time in 2015, the question was, can that model be replicated for biology? And so Neil had recruited myself and George to think about a curriculum and then figure out, could we actually either augment digital fabrication labs? Because again, if you're in a digital fabrication lab and if you've got, 3D printers and water jet cutters and all this infrastructure, you can actually make biotools, right? You can actually make open hardware. So could you actually use a maker space to actually build the hardware that you need to actually run biology experiments? And so there was this interesting connection between digital fabrication and synthetic biology and the life sciences. And so we started teaching this class, but immediately ran into the roadblocks that I think Jenny and others are facing, which is, how do you get the supply chain, right? We had students that were in different parts of the world, including in Africa, that wanted to participate. And class number one is like, go build a genetic circuit. And it's like, well, how do I get the enzymes for that? Where do the molecules for that come from? And immediately we faced these supply chain issues. And so after a couple of years of working globally, I'm still having pretty good participation. But, again, depending on where you were in the world, if you didn't have access to the resources, then maybe you could only do the design homeworks or the in silico simulations or whatever, but you couldn't actually do the lab work. We brought the class back to MIT 2 years ago, and we've been now teaching it as a graduate class at MIT to both refine the curriculum and kind of get better and understanding what each week's homework assignments would be. And last year this year, I guess, in 2021 in the spring, we launched a version of How to Grow Almost Anything, where we had an MIT group. So we had MIT students, and then we had a global listener cohort where we had 30 students or so more participant globally. And Harry, I think, was a part of that for part of the class. And so this year in 2022 in the spring, we're going to do that again. We're actually going to increase the global listener cohort and open it up so that basically anybody that wants to sign up can join, can listen in on the lectures, and then we'll provide some resources to help try to connect the different labs from around the world that are trying to participate in the curriculum to figure out the supply chain issues, right? That's still, I think, the biggest problem to make a hands-on life science curriculum go global is you have to figure out the reagent issues that, again, we've been talking a lot about today. So I just wanted to put that out as an offering that, in February of 2022, we will be opening the course again. We'd so love to engage with all of your communities if you're interested in participating in this curriculum. It's, at a worst case, you can just hop into a Zoom and hang out with us as we talk about these synthetic biology topics each week. And that's part of what's so cool about the class. Each week we focus on a very specific skill set. So it might be a protein design and simulation one week, designing and building genetic circuits, 3D biofabrication, microscopy and measurement, et cetera. So each week we have a curriculum and then a set of skills that we teach. And I think the biggest innovation that we had last year was, because even at MIT, because of the pandemic, students weren't allowed in the lab. So what we did was we taught the students at MIT and our global listeners how to program robots. So we had a couple of Opentrons robots inside our lab. And so we had TAs set up the robots, and then everybody from around the world was programming the robots to execute the experiments. So they were still able to get some learning experience out of it, despite not physically being in the laboratory. So Opentrons, we're very grateful to them. They've given us a bunch more robots. So we actually have a bigger set of robots now to run more experiments. And so our hope is that we can get a global audience of students to actually still participate in the class and run experiments through the robotics that we're building out. So anyways, so just Alex, thank you for the opportunity to share. And yeah, for those of you that are excited in participating, would so love to talk with you and connect. And then Jenny too, maybe there's a way also for us to figure out how to kind of build in supply chain into this as well and connect it with the work that you guys are doing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, David. What I realized that we are lacking to be able to actually grow better is the literature and be able to incorporate it into the curriculum, because when we have it in the curriculum, it becomes easy. We tried to convince the professors, but then we realized that from the professors that we're talking to at our universities, most of them are, they're into other kind of life science research that they're involved in, and they have less clue about synthetic biology. And we realize it's going to really take us some time. But with initiatives like this, we can be able to easily reach to our target. I'm also very interested and curious. At the same time, I'll be able to get in touch. Amanda, finally, we have you. Could you please introduce yourself and then tell us about the initiatives in the that are ongoing and how they're impacting the region? That will be in a few minutes because we are almost out of time, and then we can go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So thank you, everyone. It's been amazing hearing the amazing things that we're doing across our different spaces in Africa. As you know, Africa is an enriching and a very nourishing continent. We have over 50 countries with, different dynamic culture and also shout out to Harry, Alex. I've been, keeping tab on the amazing things that they are doing. So my name is Amanda and I'm from Nigeria. So I run this nonprofit organization called STEMI Makers Africa. STEMI is an acronym for Science, Technology, Engineering, Mathematics, and Innovation. So we are focused on three things. One is addressing the leaky unemployment pipeline, which we have existing in Africa, by giving young people the skills of the future that they need to excel, and that they can transition effectively from education to employment. The second one is the underrepresentation of women and girls in STEM. We have this mentoring program called Project Kongoza. Kongoza is a Swahili name for leading, to lead. So it's empowering young women and girls to lead. We intentionally pair these young women and girls to Africans in diaspora. And but recently we started looking inwardly because unfortunately, we have very few role models and very few women in STEM. So it's a way of giving them this career support, the academic support that they need, and above all, the confidence, because it's one thing to tell, share your stories with these girls, another thing to really tell them or really give them this drive to go ahead. So Project Kongoza, we doubled up our strategy last year because we realized there's a lot of social exclusion. Girls were being, vulnerable because they were out of school, and probably because, they didn't have this, education moved to online. Not every country or community have access to the internet. So these were loopholes that, we needed to fix. So one of the things we did was we started engaging final year students in universities, trying to see how they can have this troop kind of mentoring. So you go to a school, you mentor 4 girls, like collectively. So it's a way of these girls also inspiring themselves. Then the third one, which we have been working strongly on, is refining our education system. Science, for one thing, is an amazing field, but you see that we don't have the hands-on resources that can help these teachers to, help coach these young people in schools. So we've been training educators, but another thing is we've realized that once we train them and they love it, the next year they want us to do the same thing. But last year, we intentionally started making their local government and the state government to get involved because, hey, the approach that we have is once we train, we should go to the next community and train, not to still go over there again. So we needed to bring them in the know of this, letting them know the implications, letting them know the economic validation on why they need to invest in these educators. The good thing, which was like a big breakthrough for us late last year, was somebody made a recommendation to the African Union so that we could join the CESA STEM cluster. Now, that CESA STEM cluster is a huge one for us because now we are talking about designing policies. We're talking about engaging local leaders, state leaders, and even federal governments on the need to, invest in scientific research, invest in biolab, setting up STEM club, etc. So the conversation, it takes a while because, it requires you designing a framework and also ensuring that these countries are able to key in. And then STEMI actually is in 19 countries, but you would know that Alex can access that. What can apply in Ghana or what can apply in Nigeria is totally different from what can apply in Uganda. So already you're still looking at how, you can penetrate these countries. So we are just in the policy stage, encouraging policy stakeholders, the government, the legislature on the need to really ensure that educators are being trained, because from time to time, educators are not being trained. And good enough, we have esteemed organizations who are willing to give these educators free resource tools. So we also not just advocate for this training, we intentionally connect these organizations to these schools where they can have access to these resources and they can apply, so that subjects like maths or science will not be like an abstract thing to a young person. So overall, that's where we are. And thankfully for MIT, this amazing session, Alex sent me an email, and we're already looking at doing something in Uganda. So I'm just trying to let you know that that's the power of this particular fellowship and this particular program. You try to see how you can synergize, bring in these skill sets and these resources and make it happen. So yeah, that's it. And thank you so much, David. Would also, I didn't get all that you shared, but I would also try to see how we can come in, support, give in any kind of resources we have, just to ensure that we can amplify this in the big way. So yeah, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amanda. You've really inspired me, because for me, mine were in baby steps. I started sister with my friend from Cyprus. She's called Thea Chrysostomo. She's now doing a PhD at Pasteur University in France. But we started this because of the same goal that you are having in mind, reaching out to the kids to be able to break down the big sciences, the science, the technology, the engineering, the mathematics, and be able to create it together and be able to simplify it and make people, kids like it. So I'm ready to collaborate with you, Amanda. I'm very ready on this. And thanks to BioSummit for bringing us together. So we are having one thing that we have to take is the family photo before we leave. I've seen a few other members have joined in at last moment, but I think, David, you're going to help us on taking the photo.
Super easy, everybody. If you just turn your videos on and just give us your great smile and your energy, then we'll take a quick picture together before we all wrap up. So if you guys don't mind turning your videos on. Oh, Alex, where'd you go?
Oh,
you got an object too. Oh, that's good. Yeah, you have an object. I have an object as well. Okay, smile, everybody. Okay, wonderful. So great to have you guys. Alex, I'll turn it back to you for closing the session.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, David. That was awesome. Harini, you just joined us. Maybe you could introduce yourself and say something at last, and Adam and Scott, and then we can be able to have the closing remarks.
Hi, I joined in, I guess, for the next session, but I just wanted to see what was happening around here and like got some pointers, I believe. So yes, great to be here.
No problem. I think we're just finalizing the session, so maybe another session is coming in. But it was great having all of you and be able to digest what is in the region and to know what the work that we are all being able to reach out to do. And it was amazing session for us. And thanks to the Bio Summit organizing team that gave me the opportunity to lead, and I'm happy. Thanks to Harry and Jenny and Anish and Amanda and Olu for contributing, and Ibrahim and everyone, Deepak from South Africa. It was a great moment, and we look forward to the future of Africa.
Oh, and one more thing, Alex, too. But maybe we should have everybody stay connected on the Slack. I can make a channel. I'm not sure if we made a channel, but let me make one right now. I'll put a link into the chat here.
Yeah, before we leave.
Yeah, before we leave.
Yeah, and maybe I would like to know, Harry, if you had the same meeting in the previous Bio Summit, because I saw in the notes something talk about something about the previous meeting and then the recap and if to allocate roles for ourselves the coming meetings and when we can be able to have them, so we can be able to continue that conversation on Slack.
Yeah, very true. Unfortunately, the representation at most Bio Summits, the numbers usually aren't that encouraging. So we try as much as possible to see how we can start recruiting people and build up the community. And I think, I mean, this is the beginning. The group David is setting is the first of its kind, where we're going to start, I mean, attracting people already here and others whom we feel are important to that cause for us to start moving things forward. Already we have Simba Africa already doing some amazing stuff. So I think it's just an extension of what we anticipate to see happen. So I would say that, yeah.
Amazing.
So just if you check in the Slack link there, we can continue this because there's another session that's going to start here soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can put your contact information there, and then Harry, again, I think other ways that we can support, SynBio Africa and the other great initiatives that are already underway. I think we'll all be excited to do that. But we can continue the conversation in the Slack channel here.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Alex, for the great moderation. Amanda, I'd love to follow up with you on education. Again, I'm so blown away by everything you're doing, Amanda. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Take care.
Okay, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.